What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the NBA Hardwood show here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel, talking Monday's 5-game NBA slate. Got the usual Monday crew here on Draft Sheet, joined today, as usual, by Mangone and AP. We'll throw it to you first, Mangone. How was your weekend, and how did football end up, all that stuff, and what do you think of this 5-gamer we got going on this Monday?
Yeah, NFL was good to me. I enjoyed it. It was not one of the most fun sweats in the world, especially for my cash game lineup. I had all these like backloaded lineups, right? The Jalen Hurts touchdown was lit, right? That was a huge deal for me in overtime and everything. So I had the fun backload sweat. Also, my play of the day, Kyron Williams, was like the best scorer on the slate. So overall, it was a pretty good day. I did not nail my cheap receivers, A.T. Perry and all those other clowns. Listen, we looked at all these cheap receivers and we said, well, we like this one and this one and this one. They all were bad, right? Just all of them were absolutely terrible. So that was one of the downsides to the slate for me. But other than that, NFL was fun. I always get excited to get out of this week because, listen, I enjoy the Thanksgiving week. It's so much fun, but I'm pretty exhausted by the end of it for sure. It's a grind. You got college football on that Friday with NBA slates. I mean, this week is always a tough one, so I need a little bit of a break. But, hey, we're back at it. No break yet, right? Chicago Bears tonight against the Vikings. We got 5-game NBA slate and a pretty fun one that I'm excited to break down with you guys.
Yeah, a lot of football over the last 4 days. I'm pretty sure I watched had to be like an average of like 10 hours a day of football, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with college, NFL, all that stuff going on. It was a pretty good day for me. Had a lot of almost all Josh Allen, a lot of Gabe Davis, and man, that wide open touchdown they missed, and then Jalen Hurts obviously gets it going on the reverse was a little painful, but a profitable Sunday, so we'll take that. And we're on to, well, not quite yet, but we're on to week 13 after Vikings and Bears tonight. AP, I know you're in the NBA streets during the weekend as well as NFL. How was your DFS weekend, and what do you think about this 5-gamer we got tonight?
Yeah, I mean, like everyone's attention is on football on Saturday when Jordan Poole gets like scratched 4 minutes after lock. He was underpriced in a phenomenal spot, 40-some% owned. I pull up Twitter, no one's tilting, and I'm like, what's going on? Well, barely anyone's probably like me on an island playing NBA, but that was obviously really tilting. I guess he rolled his ankle in warm-up, shoot around, whatever. Who frickin' knows? Someone on Twitter was saying that, the high stakes people got him to say, I mean, come on, people. That's not going on. It would be crazy if it did, but it's not like a guy like Jordan Poole is going to, impact. Like, anyways, it's crazy. But no, I mean, tonight's slate looks really fun. I got some really interesting takes, so should make for a fun slate. I'm full MME tonight and gonna really embrace a lot. Like, I think there's some potentially bad projected chalk, like dudes that just like you're rarely ever mad that you didn't like play it as like mega chalk, at least from a projection standpoint at 4:50 p.m. Obviously things could change, but so I think it's a fun slate for your contrarian type of players out there.
Yeah, I'm not saying Jordan Poole, took a dive post-lock, but prior to the game. But if you told me that one NBA player did do it, got paid off by the high-stakes sharks, the gamblers, whatever, Jordan Poole would be pretty near the top of my list of NBA players most likely to do something like that. Just the knucklehead that he is, but of course, probably a legit injury, and we'll see if he plays tonight. That's certainly significant news on this slate, on this 5-gamer. And, we'll talk about that game. There are 3 games that lock in that first 7 p.m. Eastern time window, and then we've got a game at 9 Eastern time and 10:30 Eastern. So 3 games early and then spread out after that. Of course, we've got football tonight, all that good stuff. I know it was a big week for a lot of people in the Run Pure Sports community, especially with football yesterday. I saw a lot of good screenshots in the Discord. As a group, we were pretty all in on Josh Allen. I know it seemed like he was in about half the cores over at RPS. So good day, I think. And if you want to join, I think we still have the promo code Giblets44. Correct me if I'm wrong, AP, but I believe that's still active. That will give you 44% off.
And no, there was one guy who was not on Mr. Josh Allen, and it was none other than our boy Snyder.
There we go. The early Snyder picture. We'll see more of him. Hopefully, if we get 2 plays of the day. Do us a favor, guys. Hit the like if you're watching the show. We do appreciate it. It helps us bring you this show free of charge pretty much each and every day for the NBA streets. With that, let's get into the first game of the night. Portland and the Indiana Pacers. The secret's out by now, AP. The pace that the Pacers are playing at is insane. And you see it reflected here at 240 total, with the Pacers favored by 12. We have seen the Blazers get healthier recently. We've seen the return of both Malcolm Brogdon, Scoot Henderson over the last few games. That's obviously widened out their rotation a little bit. And then Indiana continues to be the Tyrese Halliburton show, all the way up to 11K. Certainly earned that price tag. He's been incredible, facing one of the worst defenses in the league in Portland. So right away, despite kind of a lack of injury news in this one, Aaron Nesmith really the only thing we're waiting on. Certainly an enticing game, from a points scored standpoint. What do you see for value and everything else in Portland and Indiana?
So, I mean, it's insane. So the overs in Indiana Pacer games is now 14-1. 14-1. And, like, not only that, they're exceeding the margin by, like, double-digit points each and every, like slate. It's absolutely insane. 239.5 tonight. Well, I got it at 240. I woke up and, just hammered it, saw it, hammered it, and moved on. Now, like the Blazers always worry me a little bit because they just don't have many like good offensive players. Could be the Scoot Henderson like night, maybe finally, because like Indiana doesn't play defense at all. So this I think is one of the more interesting games because we just love targeting guys or targeting this Pacers team because they play at such a fast pace and they don't play defense. But if you're watching Portland yesterday, they were playing hard. So obviously it was a Brogdon revenge game. Actually it's his revenge tour, playing the Bucks and then the Pacers tonight. They were up by like 28 points on Milwaukee. And the Bucks came back and got the win. It was pretty incredible. So you got to wonder the starting unit if they come out a little sluggish. And this is where I think things can get a little interesting. Let me first start with the Pacers side, which is by far always the toughest to predict. Halliburton, 11K. I think I'm with you guys. Like we all love Halliburton, but 11K, they're 12-point favorites. I think the Pacers could absolutely smash here. I can't pay that price tag. And what we see from Rick Carlisle in some of these games, especially when the Pacers get up and then that second unit comes in and they extend the lead, which I think could happen tonight, you just see a really wide rotation that makes things really tough. So this is where I'm getting different. Like I'm going to be under on the Buddy Hield types. I think Bruce Brown is fine just because they're going to need him out there for defense. But I love the idea of like playing, Benny Mack off the bench, assuming he comes off the bench. We got to see if Aaron Nesmith is coming back. I mean, the one thing with the Pacers is you got to keep an eye on this starting lineup. Like they switch it up often. It seems like, Buddy Hield was coming off the bench. Now he's starting. And so keep an eye on the starting lineup. But I feel like it's going to be a spot too, to where we could see some random person like a Jalen Smith, maybe even like a TJ McConnell get there. Now, those plays are only viable if you're running 150. So if you're playing 150, I would keep those guys in your pool. It's a 5-game slate. I think you can get creative. I know like trying to predict blowouts is stupid. Yes, we all know that. We all know that, but I don't think it's stupid if you're multi-entering, if you have a lot of lineups and you can build a big portfolio within your pool to get creative like that. And that's what I'm gonna do with the Pacers here. And I'm going to do it with the Blazers side too. So this is, right out of the gate, I have a couple crazy takes. So I like Scoot Henderson. I think this is going to be finally a spot for him to get going. Brogdon's the obvious like smash play. His usage has been insane. I'm not going to talk anyone off of playing Brogdon. I have him as graded as a solid play. I'm not fading him. I'm going to have exposure. But I do think it's an interesting spot where Scoot Henderson, maybe it's just game gets out of hand. They just let Scoot go out there, get some buckets, get in rhythm. And there's no other team that's better than doing it against this Pacers team. The other guy that I think that they're going to let potentially cook, we've seen it twice now in this rotation on the second end of a back-to-back. We've seen Duop Reith play 19 and 20 minutes. Now, 19 and 20 minutes in a bad matchup, like, yeah, we're not going to look at that. But on a slate where like Justin Holiday and Simon Fontecchio is actually, I believe how you say his name. I always call him Fontecchio. Are going to be mega chalk. Two dudes that do nothing. I mean, Duop Reith actually has upside in the right matchup, a matchup that's faster pace. I mean, his usage is insane when he gets in there. So again, he's going to be like sub 2% owned. I mean, no one's going to play this guy. I think it's a unique spot where you get a little creative. He's 3.2K. If they let him out there, get him out there for 22 minutes, I think he could put up like 30 plus. That's like the high usage big that he is. So right out of the gate, crazy takes, I know, but I like this game. But I'm going to be treating it probably a lot different than other people, where I'm getting creative with filtering in some of these second unit players.
We got a Duop Reith call out on the first game here. Makes some sense. I saw a tweet. He's averaging, I think there's two players in the NBA averaging more than 12 3-point attempts per 36 minutes. One is, no surprise, Steph Curry. And the other one, Mr. Duop Reith, letting it fire from deep, back-to-back for Portland. Could be a blowout. Could see limited minutes for DeAndre Ayton. I don't hate the Duop Reith call, AP. Maybe I'll join you.
Let's go. Get on board. Get on board. We'll all be rooting on Duop Reith. Yeah, it'll be fun times.
And in terms of the pronunciation of Fontecchio, I don't know how to say it, and I know Mangone doesn't either. So we're gonna just.
I think what you just said right there might be correct, but I was listening to the announcers, and I know we always said Fontecchio, and then I heard them say Fontecchio, but I think you might have been better. So who knows?
I don't even know what I said. Mangone, over to you for Portland and Indiana. What do you got for us here?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to calling him Simone. I think that just makes my life a little easier. Simone, if we want Simone F, if you really want to get technical. But the Duop Reith call, I didn't expect that here on the show today. I don't disagree with what AP's saying. I think it's an interesting take to have. 5 gamers, like these are the ones where I don't mind where you can get a little bit creative with some stuff, especially when you have these gross guys. Probably not something I'm doing because I'm playing a little bit more FanDuel today, and I don't think it's as necessary over there. But this is obviously a game we have to like. Pacers, we talk about it every single slate, right? And I don't know about you guys. It feels like every single damn NBA slate, the Wizards and Pacers are on them. Like I don't remember a slate without it. It feels like we're just always here. And I play it almost every single day. I'd say I pretty much play every day, but it feels like they're on every slate. So one reason why we're maybe not going to get as many Pacers today as you might think is because the Pistons are going to pop a ton, right? They're playing against the Wizards. I think this game is going to go more under-owned compared to that Wizards game. And we'll see there could be news that could hit with like the Jokic stuff, and we get that early enough, it could really, spice some things up. But overall, I want to attack Indiana with some of these Portland guys. I think if you're looking for a contrarian center that has upside, I think DeAndre Ayton is in that bucket. Now, I'm not saying I like DeAndre Ayton as a whole. It's DFS, right? When you're playing the Pacers, you just have a ceiling at 6.9K to be able to get there. There's some guys that pretty much every single slate, I want to just go in and make sure I bump it. If I have, centers against the Pacers, I think it's worth bumping up a little bit if you're not getting enough of them. But I am getting some. I think DeAndre Ayton is a good play. I think one thing to call out on FanDuel specifically, Buddy Hield has been way underpriced for a while now, and he continues to be underpriced. He has 5.3K over there. Bruce Brown is also 5.4K. I like those two as guys that you can put at the guards forward position that are really good values against this Blazers team. I mean, we talk about this Pacers team, how they just don't play any defense. They're not that great. Well, they're 12-point favorites against the Portland Trailblazers. I know they've been playing better basketball because Halliburton's been playing at a pretty elite level, but it is crazy to see them as 12-point favorites against any team. So it's shocking that we're not getting a lot of Pacers today. It's mainly the cheaper options. Halliburton's price is pretty expensive, but I'll counter with this. If we get news that Jokic is out, you might have some money for Halliburton now, right? That's something to kind of just think about here when kind of building out your lineup. So overall, I think you got to like this game. It's one of the better ones, and it's going to get overlooked because a lot of people are going to the Pistons and Wizards. So don't completely ignore this game. There's some lower ownership plays in this game that they just shouldn't have as low ownership as they're having.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. This game could be played a lot in transition. We know the Pacers love to do it. Blazers have been the third worst transition team in the league. One guy, or there's a couple guys that I think could benefit from the matchup in particular. One, I think Obi Toppin, I like a little bit, has played 24, 36, 34 minutes in the last three. He's a guy who I think needs a fast-paced, up-and-down game with little defense to thrive. And he's playing better, right? Kind of figuring out a new team. I do think this looks like a particularly good matchup for his style of play. And he's put up some big games recently. So he's a guy that maybe goes overlooked that I could get a piece of in this early one. Let's move on to the Lakers and the 76ers. This one expected to be closer. Philadelphia favored by 5, 231 total in Philly. We do know some injuries for the Lakers. Hachimura already ruled out. And then Oubre, Springer, Daniel House all out for Philadelphia. We are waiting on Cam Reddish and I guess supposedly LeBron James, although I certainly expect LeBron to play. Reddish, in my opinion, much more questionable. Could potentially be a tight rotation from both of these teams, AP, depending on who's in and who's out. But I do think both teams will want to win this game. I think the stars, Embiid, Maxey, LeBron, Anthony Davis, I think are all in decent spots and maybe go a little bit overlooked for a 5-game slate, just as maybe other people looking toward the little bit higher totals. So talk to us. I think an interesting one here, Lakers and Sixers.
Yeah, so we get a questionable tag on LeBron James every single slate. Maybe it's just so that his name's out there, so that the Twitter world. I mean, who knows why? But he's playing. I'm always working under the assumption that he's in there and he's playing. Cam Reddish, though, is the true questionable tag, and Max Christie has seen an uptick in minutes and actually has played pretty nicely with Reddish out. So keep an eye on that. Obviously, Max Christie 3.9 would become a fine value. I think I'd prefer him even over the Justin Holiday. We'll talk about the Justin Holiday, later on. But if there's a guy that I hate as chalk, he's definitely one of them. So a couple things I looked up. We typically don't like to target opposing centers against Joel Embiid. He's just so good at getting you into foul trouble. And, obviously he's league MVP and just tough overall. I will say, I looked it up. Anthony Davis has some decent games against him, put up 55 and 59 the last two times playing him. Did it in Philly too as a Laker. And, has a few other 59 pieces against him as well. And Joel Embiid, I mean, his numbers are fine against Anthony Davis. If anything, Anthony Davis has been slightly better in this matchup. So if my preference here, I think both are fine plays, but I like the discount on AD at 9.8K. And you got to consider some Lakers players here. The game should be competitive. The pace is going to be good. That's the one thing that we get from Tyrese Maxey pushing things. I think it's a good backcourt matchup as well. So I think D'Angelo Russell at 6'3", a nice spot for him. I think DraftKings has gone kind of nuts with Maxey's price. We all agree Maxey is awesome. And, previously when we were jamming him in, he was in the 7K range. I think the right price for him is, and I'm curious to see what you guys think, but I think 8.5 to 8.7. So I think he's maybe slightly overpriced, but the matchup is good. And we obviously have somewhat limited spend up options. So I'm not removing him from my pool. I'm still going to leave him in there. I think he's a fine play. I just think that price tag is a little tough despite good matchup. And then Austin Reeves too at 6'2". Austin Reeves has been playing really well, has embraced the role of coming off the bench. And he's still playing starter-ish type of minutes. You you got to love seeing him, embracing that role. So I have a ton of interest in Austin Reeves. I think I would almost play Austin Reeves over DeAnthony Melton, who's $6K, 200 cheaper than Austin Reeves. Reeves he's been pretty nice in this role. And then D'Angelo Russell too. Point guard is pretty interesting on this slate. We'll talk about Cade Cunningham in this next game. I think there's another more obvious play in this next game, but then I see a lot of people going up to the Brogdon. So like if you go D'Angelo Russell, take some savings there off of one of these higher priced guys. I think it makes for a pretty unique roster construction move.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I don't think I want to go crazy with the Lakers secondary pieces, the Reeves, Russells, Max Christie's, but yeah, one or two of those guys I think make sense. And I do think the Cam Reddish news is pretty important, honestly, man, going for all of those guys. Reeves has certainly picked it up recently. He got off to a really, really slow start early in the season, but has been much better as of late. And I don't know, just based on what we saw last year too, he does seem to be somewhat of a streaky player. So 6,200 for Reeves, I think makes some sense. What do you see here, Mangone, Lakers, and Sixers?
Yeah, I don't mind the Reeves call. I think he's going to be a contrarian play, so I don't hate it. I know D'Angelo Russell at that price he's going to get some ownership for sure. Not nothing at 6.3K. He's at that weird spot, though, kind of like Reeves, where it's like, the ceiling's there, but you do worry about the floor at times. Obviously, Reeves has been playing better. Russell's been struggling more. So if I had to pick, it'd probably be Reeves between those two. How do we handle LeBron? Well, for one, LeBron's in, right? I'll report it right now. LeBron James is playing. It's an assumption at this point. If he happens to miss, then so be it. I'm not going to sit here and, I like to backload for stuff, but I'm not backloading for that. I'll tell you that right now. And of course, we don't have to backload. We're getting that early. But you get my point. Let's plan for LeBron in pretty much every single slate until we see otherwise. So 9.7K. He could be a contrarian option for sure that I don't think people are going to play into lineups. The question will be, do you have the salary to do it? And do you want to fade Embiid for it, right? Because I don't think it's going to be easy to get two stud teams today. It might be able to be later on if we get some news, but I do think it's going to be a tough thing to do. Also, Anthony Davis at 9.8K. He's fine, but do I want him in a matchup against Embiid when I'd rather just take Embiid? Probably not. And I know they're different prices, but I just don't see myself spending on many Lakers. If I play any Lakers, it's the mid-tier guys that we kind of talked about before. On the Philadelphia side, Embiid is one of the best studs on the slate. Definitely worth spending for. I think he could absolutely crush in this matchup. So I like Embiid. I agree with AP. Maxi's price is a bit up there. I mean, yeah, he's fine at 9.2, but it just doesn't feel like he's kind of breaking the barrier of the price tag, right? So it feels like it doesn't kill you if you kind of fade him. So I know it's the guards and the Lakers are bad against guards, but I just don't need to go to Maxey. I think there's other ways I'd rather spend my salary. If I do play any other Sixers besides Embiid here, I don't hate the Melton take from AP, but I kind of like Tobias Harris a little bit more. Now, I think Melton is a little safer than Tobias Harris, but I think Harris's ceiling is a little bit higher at that, price tag. He's 6.9K. We just seen him hit, those 50 fantasy point thresholds. And on FanDuel specifically, he's 6.5K, and you have to play two power forwards. I think it's a pretty decent spot for Tobias Harris. So for me, it's really mainly looking at Tobias Harris, Embiid, and Melton. Those are the three guys I'm kind of keying in on from this game.
Makes sense. That's the Lakers and Philadelphia 76ers. Next game on the slate, Wizards and Detroit Pistons. 236 total in this one. Detroit favored by 2.5, and something's got to give here, AP. These two teams have lost a combined 22 straight between them, 13 straight losses for the Pistons, 9 straight losses for the Wizards. And DFS is funny like this sometimes, just a horrible game between two horrible teams. But for DFS purposes, this one will be popular due to the high total. Supposed to be close. Some good values in this one. We'll see on Jordan Poole. That's really the only news that we are waiting on. Obviously had the late scratch last game and questionable here. I believe he participated in shoot around, so I do kind of expect him to be back, but obviously we don't know. We'll see with Jordan Poole. You're going to see a lot of chalk in this game. I think Jaden Ivey could be one of the more popular players on the entire slate at 5,400. That's kind of an interesting chalk piece with Detroit getting healthier. We'll see what the Pistons do with their starting lineup. Jalen Duren returned after a 2-week absence. Last game did come off the bench, but still played 29 minutes and played pretty well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him back in the starting lineup. Of course, centers have destroyed Washington all year. So there's a lot of potential plays here. Cade Cunningham, another guy who I think is certainly in play, despite not playing very well. Certainly the role has been there at least. A lot going on in this one. AP, talk to us, Washington and Detroit.
Yeah, so, the one risk that I would kind of caution people is just like with the Wizards, their rotation can be pretty frustrating at time. They play a lot of dudes. I mean, Danilo Gallinari is going to get in there. Kispert, spot shooter. He's been good, but he's 4'7". He's literally out there just trying to chuck threes.
Both these teams, when you're losing every single game, night after night after night, of course the coach is going to try out different rotations and just try anything, right? I mean, maybe that's part of why they're losing, but yeah, it's just obviously harder to trust these teams that are losing game after game.
Yeah, Koulibaly too will work into the mix, and so I don't like. So Ivy's a few things why Ivy I think is fine chalk. His price tag is fair. The matchup is very good here, obviously against the Wizards, and so I'm 100% fine with him. And then Jalen Duren, he played 28 minutes off the bench against Indiana. Phenomenal. He put up 40 points against Jalen Duren, which goes back to my point of Mr. Duop-Reed too. So is he going to play 20 minutes? No, he's not, but he's going to chuck threes. So, but back to this, bigs against the Wizards, phenomenal spot, targeting Daniel Gafford. Jalen Duren, if he plays 32 minutes here, he should smash. I would get there's a good chance he puts up 40 plus. Gets a double-double. It's just easy buckets for him. He's going to get some blocks, some steals. It's just such a great spot for Jalen Duren. I love a nice foundation starting block would be Ivy and Duren. I think actually someone in chat mentioned that. Paul, he also mentioned Justin Holiday. I'm gonna fight with them. 100 power forward. Isaiah Livers is, I think, a 43% three-point shooter. Solid 3-point shooter. He's not going to find a better matchup than this one against the Wizards. There's been multiple games. Mangone, you alluded to it. I believe it's Mangone. Feel like it's either the Pacers or Wizards on the slate every single night. I find myself watching these teams every single night. I've watched a ton of Washington Wizards games, and honestly, you find yourself laughing during it because you're just like, what? Mainly laughing at Jordan Poole, and I've played a lot of Jordan Poole, but I'm like, what are you doing? But they leave so many shooters wide open. This is going to be a great opportunity for Livers to take 6 or 7 threes, maybe hopefully more. I think 3,500. I think he makes for a really fine value play, arguably probably coming off the bench too. So keep that in mind. So I like this game. I think it's really good. I prefer the Pistons side. The Wizards side is far more difficult to play. Kyle Kuzma, a great spot for Kyle Kuzma, but he's 8.6K, 8,600. That's an insane price tag now for Kyle Kuzma. You have to bump the projection way up for him to even land into any builds. Could he get there? If you're playing 150, yeah, keep him in your pool. Kuzma's shown really nice upside. And the matchup is pretty good as well, but the price tag is a lot to overcome. So I like the Pistons side. It's Ivy, Isaiah Livers, and Jalen Duren are the guys that I like the most.
Makes sense. I think Ausar Thompson could have a bounce back game here. He's been a little slow recently. I like him a little bit too. I will say one thing about this game, Mangone, is with both these teams on these massive losing streaks, the coaches desperately want to win, right? You don't want to lose game after game. So I think it's easier on the Detroit side where, to be able to predict where the minutes are going to go. But I think either side, the players that play well, right? Whether that's the starters, whether it's the guys coming off the bench, the guys who are performing, and having their team go on a run while they're out there, I think we could see elevated minutes for whoever it is that's playing well in this game as both teams try to break the long losing streak. So I think there's some minute ceilings that are a little bit sneaky for some of these guys for tournaments. talk to us Detroit and the Wizards.
Yeah, Detroit and the Wizards, the battle of the losers. Should be a fun one to watch if you like DFS. Should be a lot of scoring as well. So the question of the day, and AP didn't mention it, which I was surprised, is how many Pistons are too many Pistons, right? That's always the big question that we have in DFS, and I think that's a big question here with Pistons. Like the first team that I ran through and looked at, I saw I was getting like either 4 or 5 Pistons, depending on where your projections are at. Like you're going to get a lot of them today. I'm not saying that those Pistons can't get there, but I'm leaning on max of 4. I might make it 4. We'll have to see, but I'm not doing 5. I think 5 is too much for this league. I'm going to see what happens with the 4. Then I might make it max of 3. We'll have to see when I kind of go through. I can let people know in the Discord if they're curious. Just hit me with the @ in there. But you got to like Cade Cunningham. He's expensive, but it's a good spot. I agree with the Jaden Ivey take. One thing to call it with Jaden Ivey is it's at least encouraging the minutes have been safer. Now, can it flip at any moment? Yes, agreed. I think it could just randomly flip and you wouldn't be surprised. But 32 minutes, 30, 28, 29, last 4 games. I mean, that's just really encouraging. As long as he doesn't get into foul trouble, you expect he's going to be fine. We like to take guards against the Wizards, so I'm definitely interested in him. Next one up, we should discuss. Let's talk about Jalen Duren. So he's 6.7K. Agree with AP. He absolutely crushed the Indiana Pacers the other day, coming off the bench. One thing I'm going to start doing, I saw Brook Lopez the other day absolutely just smash, and I didn't have him in the matchup against the Washington Wizards, and I wanted to have more exposure to him. If every single time the Wizards are on a slate, DC, I'm going to look at the projections, I'm going to run everything, and I'm going to specifically go to the center position and see, do I have exposure to the center that is playing against the Wizards? And if I don't, I'm moving the projection up until I have exposure. Okay, I just am. It's simple. Unless for some reason Nikola Jokic is in the greatest spot in the world and you can't fade him or something weird like that. But I want exposure to him. So I'm already getting enough Duren where I don't need to change it too much. Now, if I set that rule in there of a max of 3 and I'm not getting enough of Duren, then maybe I'll make an adjustment. But I want to have exposure to him. Also, don't sleep on the idea of getting exposure to like Isaiah Livers, however you say his name. I mean, he's not a big man, but I mean, you can make the case it's still going to be, he's a power forward. It's still going to be beneficial to be playing this matchup. And the minutes haven't been bad, right? For 3.5K, playing 23 and 26 minutes. If the shot starts falling and he starts feeling it, also, he was out for a while. Like, sometimes it just takes some time to get your legs back. I think he is a really good cheap option at 3.5K that I'm going to consider. And also, let's say that Jalen Duren, like, let's say something happens where, like, maybe he gets, like, a couple early fouls, or maybe Isaiah Stewart's just absolutely smashing, and Duren loses some minutes. Well, it's going to be because Stewart's playing well. I think Isaiah Stewart is one of those Pistons you want to get a little bit of exposure to as well here. And the one more guy to mention on the Pistons side of the ball is Thompson. Thompson is 6.5K. One thing I called out a couple shows ago is, dude, it is a very tough price tag at 6.5, and I don't love his ceiling with all those guys back right now. But to be fair, the matchup against the Wizards is really good. If there was a Wizard, or if there was a Piston to say, I'm going to take a stand on and maybe be under the field on of this starting group, it'd probably be him. That might be the guy that's popping the most in projections that I might just get a little bit lower on. Because, again, I think the ceiling he has at the 6.5, he has to just do a lot to pay off the tag. So that's something to think about. Not that I'm saying he's a bad play, but I'm just saying you got to really look and decide, how am I going to get different from the field? Where can I take a stand? And that's somewhere where I think I might take a little bit of a stand for sure. One last guy I didn't mention on the Pistons, and I don't think he's on the Wizards side of the ball, so we can switch over and talk about the Wizards now. The reason I say it is I wanted to joke about this with you, AP. Is it a Eugene Omori revenge game? Our guy, K-Falix guy, Eugene. I don't think I could do it, AP, but I figured I'll ask you before I keep talking about the Wizards. Can we play Big Eugene if Jordan Poole's out?
I mean, I don't know.
It was more
wasn't on my list.
Yeah, it was more of a joke, but I just thought I'd mention that.
I got two things to say. So one, I was monitoring the chat, and if the show is skipping or whatever, close out and bring it back up. It looks like that is working because on our end, everything looks to be fine. So who knows what's going on. The other thing, and we're not, us three, I mean, we haven't talked, but we're not going to talk about this, but there's some insider news in regards to this slate, specifically around some news that we're not going to mention. Got to be a member. They'll talk about it on the Up the Lock show.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen Discord, go in there and remember, don't put it in the chat in the free YouTube chat. That's all we ask.
Yes, that's what I was going to say the same thing too. So Big T has a news nugget.
Now it just gave it away.
Oh, sorry. No, but he knows. But the thing is, he knows the answer, right? So it's like we don't have to say it's the answer. But there's a news nugget.
There you go.
There's a news nugget on the slate that you might want. So use that code Giblets44, get you 44% off. I think it's helpful information. Stuff I'm going to make adjustments to when I get off the show. I didn't see it till I was on the show because it was dropped not too long ago. So get in the Discord. Don't talk about it in the chat. But yeah, let's talk about the Wizards quick though. Kyle Kuzma, 8.6K. I know AP brought that up. Dude, that tag is crazy. It's warranted because of the ceiling he has. I think the key with him at that price is it's always what's the ownership? And without the Poole news, I think the ownership is low. I think if Poole got ruled out, I think you could see the ownership go up a bit. But that's how I'm going to handle Kyle Kuzma. I need to know what the ownership is going to be because that floor is low enough where if he was 40% owned, I don't believe he's going to be. But if he was, then I think embracing the idea that the floor game hits is worth it. I just think he's really an ownership play based on the price. You have to make your decision by that. Tyus Jones, 6'2". I do think it could be a decent spot for him, especially if Poole sat. And I don't know if he would gain a ton of ownership because people are already playing Cade and Ivy, right? So I think you'd still get low ownership on him. Denny Avdia is another guy that can be up and down. I don't know exactly what to do with him at 6'1". I probably lean not getting as much exposure to him. If Poole's in, I could see myself gaining a little bit more exposure, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I might look around and just be like, I don't know if I need to go there. I would say at the ownership for Denny Avdia versus Asir Thompson, give me Denny Avdia based on the ownership. I think that's a better play, even without the news. And then, I know you guys talked about Corey Kispert a little bit. It's gross down here, and you're going to see – you never know what the Wizards want to do. They do some really goofy things. So just be a little careful with some of your Wizards exposure for sure.
I mean, look at Mangone with the pronunciation. Oh, it's tasty.
For which one?
Everyone always calls him Avija or something like that. Even Holden messes that one up. Holden's off on Mondays. He's not watching this. He calls him Avija or something. So
no, I call them the I call the guys I like the correct names. I guess the ones I don't care about, I just kind of call them whatever they are. But maybe I'm trying to get some brownie points to DC for making fun of me all the time for my name pronunciation.
I'm glad to see you improving your pronunciation game, Mangone. 2 more games to get to. That is the 3 games in the early window, 7 o'clock Eastern time window. And then we've got 2 games on an island here. First one, we'll talk about the Pelicans and the Utah Jazz. New Orleans favored by 5.5 in this one. CJ McCollum remains out. I think he'll be back fairly soon, but out at least for this one tonight. Trey Murphy, Matt Ryan also out for the Pelicans. And then for the Utah Jazz, Clarkson is in. He was questionable for a lot of the day, but looks like he's going to play. But Lauri Markkanen is out for the Jazz. Certainly a big piece of their offense missing in this one. This is tough, though, AP. I mean, a pretty decent game environment. But, man, we've seen the Jazz minutes just go all over the place, kind of all season long, but especially recently. Even with Markkanen out, it's pretty hard to pin down where those minutes are going to go. Could be, Walker Kessler, could be John Collins. They've got other bigs as well, Kelly Olynyk kind of mixing in. So it's tough with the Jazz. It's a team I definitely don't trust right now. And then the Pelicans side, we've seen Brandon Ingram pick up a big ball handling role for the Pelicans with McCollum out. The point guards there, Dyson Daniels, Alvarado are kind of caretaker type point guards for the most part. And then Zion has looked much better recently as well. Kind of like this game for him with little defense played from the Jazz. Could be a faster game, which I think suits him as well. So, yeah, some moving parts in this one. Talk to us, Utah and New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, the Jazz are just so tough. I mean, if you weren't playing on, I think it was Saturday, I had a battle plan I concocted to trying to get, to get my money back from the bad Jordan Poole shares. I had 69% Jordan Poole, so a lot of money down the drain that night. And so what the Jazz did is they started Fontecchio. He was like 3K. They started Yurtseven, and they started Chris Dunn, which was just insane, alongside of Keontae George and John Collins. That's obviously going to change tonight. Walker Kessler came off the bench, actually looked pretty good. But what isn't going to change is we're going to get a wide rotation. They're going to play like 11 dudes. It's what they do. So it comes down to price. They need, against this Pelicans team, we already saw it. Zion didn't play last game. They need Walker Kessler in there to get rebounds. And they're going to need him tonight, because I think Zion is going to put on a clinic. This is, go look at the flow chart, go, look at whatever. This is a beautiful matchup for Mr. Zion Williamson. So I think he's a phenomenal play. He's my favorite play on the Pelicans side. 8.7 on a slate that, it's not like, if you wait for the Jokic news, which if you remember at Rumpier Sports, you might already have, it could determine a lot of what you want to do. But Zion for me at 8.7, he's right there with Kyle Kuzma. I think Zion's going to smash in this matchup. So he's one of my favorite play. The other guy I have a ton of interest in is Jose Alvarado off the bench. This is a guy that, the matchup is just perfect. He put up a 30-piece in 22 minutes in the same matchup, obviously, on Saturday against Utah. I think he gets another fine, role off the bench. So, you look at it, I'm talking about a lot of bench pieces. It's a 5-game slate, and there's going to be some bad chalk on this slate. Justin Holiday, I think, is going to be bad chalk. And I would rather play some of these other guys that just have better usages. Jose Alvarado is a guy that can rack up steals, blocks. He had 3 last game alone, along with a 20.5 usage rate. So Jose Alvarado at 4K, I think, is definitely fine. I don't know if I can get up to Brandon Ingram. 9K is just, that price tag is insane. So I think I'd rather take a discount in Brogdon, to be honest, and, who's significantly cheaper. So my interest on the Pelicans side is mainly Zion and then Jose Alvarado off the bench. And yeah, I'm not playing. The other chalk cheap guy is Fontecchio. I'm not going there. I don't trust this Jazz rotation. I honestly might set a rule that just limits, hey, no matter what, I only want 1 player max from the Jazz. I know it's a 5-game slate, kind of crazy rule to set. I do not want exposure to a bunch of Jazz pieces. So that's going to be one way that I tackle this situation.
Yeah, I'm with you, AP. I think people are going to be maybe suckered into more Jazz plays than is advisable due to the market and injury. But, man, I just do not trust this rotation. Maybe the least trustworthy rotation in the entire NBA right now. Certainly some teams contend for that, but Jazz are up there, no doubt about it. Over to you, Mangone. Pelicans, Jazz, what do you got?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. There's the chat's got me laughing. We just got some news. So I think, right? Did we just get the news? I'm just making sure. Yeah, we got news that Jokic is out. So that just came through a second ago. But I do want to talk to AP a little bit about that one comment he made about Zion. So I have definitely been against Zion a ton this year. I just haven't played him much. I play him on FanDuel sometimes, and I don't think he's killed me on DK. I think FanDuel, he can a little bit at the price at times, but I'm nervous about Walker Kessler being back. I think Walker Kessler back is going to hurt some of these options. Now, the thing I was going through is, do I want to like Valanciunas because maybe he'll be closer to the basket a little bit more dealing with someone like Walker Kessler? I think overall I'm fading these New Orleans Pelicans options. I just don't think I'm that excited about playing these big men. I don't mind Brandon Ingram. I know what his upside is. And if I think Walker Kessler will have a presence down there, I do think Brandon Ingram is worth getting exposure to. One thing I'm going to do, I think, on FanDuel tonight, and I like to go through and make adjustments to certain players. I don't feel like I need to adjust every single projection of every player, but I'm going to bump Zion's projection down. I'm getting a lot on FanDuel. I'm going to bump it down. I don't think you get as much on DK, but on FanDuel specifically, I just think I'm going to take a little bit of a stand. Now, what happens, though, you got to always look at is when you bump him down, who are you getting more of? Because sometimes you look at your stuff and you go, well, I bumped this guy down. Why am I getting more of this guy? You might not like that option. So that's something I haven't done yet, but I think I want to take a little bit of a stand on getting less exposure on Zion. I just think he's going to be over-owned on FanDuel specifically. Like I said, I like Brandon Ingram. I'll probably bump him up a couple points. I think the matchup against Utah is great. That's one thing I am a little nervous about with the Zion stuff. It's just like Utah's a team that gives up a ton of points, but I'm just more so betting on them coming from the guards rather than the big men. So I'm going to take some chances on them, like the Dyson Daniels and all those guards. So I'm betting more on the guards than I'm betting on the big men when it comes to the Pelicans side of the ball. For Utah, I mean, they threw us for a loop the other day. AP, I know that was the Jordan Poole day. I was very profitable on that slate. I love that slate. All the swapping that I was able to do was great. So for me personally, I think that Utah is a spot where with Jordan Clarkson back at 7-4, that price is a little expensive for this matchup. I don't know if I'm excited about that. Lauri Markkanen is out. Obviously, Clarkson not being out is going to affect the guards that we had discussed last time. I think the question to look at is, can you spend 6.6K on John Collins with a Lauri Markkanen out? I think it's fine, but I don't think it's like this smash spot or anything to jam onto your teams. I think the spot that I'm going to like is Walker Kessler at 5.5. I think this is just an underpriced spot for him. So for me, Walker Kessler is in the tournament pool. He is me someone that I'm definitely interested in.
All right, that is Pelicans and Jazz, and that does bring us to the final game of the night, Denver and the LA Clippers. I don't know if this line has moved, but I'm seeing the Clippers favored by 7, 218 total, and we did obviously get the news. Our man Big T had it early, but now the whole world knows, unfortunately.
I mean, I got absolutely roasted for even mentioning who the player was. Well, no shit. Like, the only guy left with the questionable tag was Jokic, and we mentioned Big T. Come on, Jimmy B. God, come on, man.
The thing
maybe we don't even break down the last game. If you want information on the last game, get on the Opt to Lock show where our guy Big T can break it down. There you go.
The thing you guys are wrong about here is, like, if I said we know the Jokic news, okay, that doesn't mean you know he's in or out. He could have been in, right? And then that's a big edge to know he's in because you can plan for it in the correct way. Like,
it was kind of obvious though because the line. Like, I looked at that line this morning, and I'm like, something's off here. Like, I'm like, I don't think Jokic is playing. Like, they ruled out Aaron Gordon. Clippers favored by 8. I mean, Clippers are going to smash. Like, this team sucks without Jokic. Like, they're going to win by like 20.
Seems like it. Clippers up to 10-point favorites now. I'm seeing. With the confirmation on the Joker who's going to miss. And, I mean, man, you take Jokic away from this Denver team, and it's like their whole identity is gone, right? Everything runs through him. That it just turns into a completely different team, more so than any other team in the league, right? Because he's just the most unique player in the league, and you take the point center out of the equation, and suddenly Denver has to play – much more traditional basketball AP than they're used to. So it does change everything for Denver. Obviously, we know Jamal Murray going to sit. And then, I think their third best player, Aaron Gordon, also out for this game. We're going to see Justin Holiday slide into the starting lineup. You've mentioned a few times being skeptical on a Justin Holiday chalk play, which I totally get. A very low point per minute guy. In the 3,300, he's probably going to be popular. This game is going to be critical, I think, to get right on the Denver side, at least for tournaments. But man, I'm worried about Denver getting absolutely blown out here and possibly looking at some cheap bench pieces. Talk to us, AP, Denver, and the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like traditionally when a player gets ruled out, that usage goes to another player, and then opportunity or minutes also goes to another player that replaced that starter who was out. The problem with a guy like Nikola Jokic being out is that's a hit to everyone. I mean, this dude facilitates like we've never seen. Like, he makes everyone else a better player. Yeah. Now, with that element gone in this game, it's not like that usage is just going to like gravitate towards everyone else on this slate. I think you got to be really smart with what players that you target. Like, MPJ alone, without, can he be a Batman? Like he's a good Robin to a Batman. I don't know if he can be. Yeah, 7'5". And then it's like Justin Holiday. Like Justin Holiday, this we've done this with this guy for a long. If you've been playing NBA for 2-3 years, like we have, this dude he has no usage, like a 4% usage rate. He's got to get there with steals, blocks, and raw scoring, which you don't see. The other problem is I think it's a great spot for them to give Peyton Watson some run. Christian Braun, let him cook. My interest is going to be in some of their younger players that they likely feature tonight, maybe with Reggie Jackson in a #revenge spot. I don't even like him that much, but they do need someone to facilitate this offense. I think what you do is like your KCPs, MPJs. I'm fading those type of guys. I would much rather play the Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, Zeke Najee, some of their younger pieces that are likely to get more run here. And then on the other side, the Clippers, I think it's also a hit to, one, it's a lot of mouths to feed anyway. And I could get on board with like a Norman Powell off the bench, or your boy Daniel Theis as well. But this game could get ugly. I mean, it could get so ugly that maybe Bones Highland gets in there and plays. So I could see Ty Lue doing that against his former team.
A tough one here, Mangone, with so much out for Denver, who it's hard to imagine. I mean, talent-wise, they are badly outmatched on the road here. This game feels likely to be a blow, but you never know in the NBA, right? We think that all the time. It doesn't happen. Maybe Denver shows up. I do think with Jokic out, and I don't love the matchup, I don't love the player, but Reggie Jackson, I think, has to have a big game. If you told me Denver is going to compete and keep this close for 4 quarters, I think Jackson has to do it, because who else can even facilitate this offense? It's not Michael Porter Jr. can't do that. They're obviously missing Jokic. Like Najee and DeAndre Jordan have no chance to do anything like that. Christian Braun, I don't think really is that type of player. So Caldwell Pope, right? He's not a guy that's running a lot of pick and rolls or anything. So I just think it kind of has to be Reggie Jackson heavy, at least to start the game. But I'm certainly worried about a blowout. Tough one here with Denver and the Clippers. Your thoughts, Mangone?
I agree. One thing to call out, I would love to. It's hard to do on the show, but I would love to look at the usage rates with MPJ without Jokic and Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray. Because the one thing, typically when this news kind of hits with a player, you'd be like, oh, MPJ's the clear guy. But this is the argument against it. The guy doesn't pass, right? He already rebounds a bunch anyways. How much more is it going to benefit someone like MPJ? Sure, he'll get more shots, but the shots got to fall. If the shots don't fall, well, he's in trouble. So I don't know if this is just making me jam MPJ. I at least want to call that out. That's typically where our brain goes, is who's the new number one on the team. I think maybe Reggie Jackson is more of a facilitator and gets that big boost like you just mentioned, DC. So that's someone I'm looking at. I think he's someone that we have to consider. One thing to call out, too, on DraftKings, the price tags on Denver. Some of these guys are up a little bit, right? KCP is 5'6", right? Zeke Najee is 5'2". I want to look at some of these bench guys like AP talked about. I think Julian Strawther could get an interesting bump here at his price tag. So I think some of these Denver guys are not bad. On the Clippers side of the ball, I'm not excited to play George and Kawhi and Harden and all these options. I do think this is going to hurt them a little bit. I think I like more of the bench guys. Like Daniel Theis, I think, could get some really good run here in his time. The only argument you could make is this the slate to do that with other values that are, maybe a little bit better? You can make the case that Russell Westbrook might get a little bit of interesting blowout run here too. So I think you can get a little bit creative with some of your Denver and Clippers plays if you want to. I don't think they're just priority jam plays on DraftKings. And then if you look at the Nuggets on FanDuel, I want to call that out. So what? I
don't think Russ would be the guy that gets the. I literally think it would be Bones. So now that's full Galaxy brain, but that's probably who, because there is a third unit there. The Amir Coffey, Bones Highland. These guys did used to get minutes before Harden and company came in. So I would just be even careful with him.
the one thing that call out that I had noticed when I pulled up popcorn really quick was when they did they either got blown out or blew out the Mavericks the other day. They closed with a lineup of Terrence Mann, Amir Coffey, Kobe Brown, Diop, and Bones. So, like, you are probably right about the Westbrook thing. He may lose more minutes. Yeah, it's definitely a weird spot. I'll just say this. I don't think Bones is playing in the first half, where I think Bones is just unplayable.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm definitely with you there. They would have to be up by like 30 in the first half. Which, I mean, I don't know. Paul George, it would come down to Paul George. I mean, he's definitely been offensively has been carrying things for the Clippers.
These basketball players are closer than people think, and when young guys get the opportunity to step up, they surprise you, right? They come out and they try a little bit harder while the other team doesn't sometimes. So
I mean, the Nuggets though. I mean, like they suck when Jokic is on the bench. Every team comes back when Jokic is sitting. It's insane, man. He's incredible. He is incredible. The point
is the drop off from Jokic to DeAndre Jordan is like the gap is so crazy, and with a defensive lineup of DeAndre Jordan, Michael Porter Jr., and Reggie Jackson together, they better get buckets because it's
got to be Zeke Naji. They're not starting DeAndre Jordan, right?
You would think, but the only fair argument to make is the Clippers have wanted to go bigger lately, right?
Yeah.
And it's a revenge game for DeAndre Jordan. They could just give him a spot start where he plays the first 6 minutes. Maybe he plays 6 minutes in the second quarter, gets a combined of 12, and then in like the third he plays. Maybe he doesn't start the second half. Like there's a way that they maybe spot start him just to kind of, do it for DeAndre. I wouldn't be shocked. I'll say that.
I did run the numbers, NBA, on off court, taking Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Jokic all off the court. A couple things stand out. One, like the net rating for all these guys is like -20. Like they've just been absolutely crushed without those three players on the court, obviously led by Jokic. They play at a slower pace. But it is three guys do kind of stand out as getting a bump in production. First one is Reggie Jackson with a massive bump in the 60 minutes without those three guys. 45% assist rate for Reggie Jackson. Might jump on and see if I can find an assist prop for him after the show. And then Porter and Christian Brown have played well, or put up fantasy points rather in this scenario. So I think if I'm going to the Nuggets, I'm like playing these guys together because I think all three of, maybe even throw Justin Holiday in there. Like I think the starters kind of have to put up numbers and play well to keep this game close if they're going to get their minute ceilings. And I do think, right, if the Nuggets starters play well and do manage to keep this game close, I think you could see really big minutes for their starters like Reggie Jackson and Porter. So kind of like tying those guys together, and who knows, maybe you run it back with some unowned Clippers as well. Could be a decent late night hammer. Certainly very risky, but I could certainly see it getting there in the end. We did get news on Cam Reddish sitting for the Lakers. Let's revisit that real quick. AP, and then we'll do a plays of the day, get out of here. Anything change for you in a big way for the Lakers with Reddish out?
Yeah, so I got to address a comment. So Corey, I've seen Mangone when he's when he's angry. I've seen him yell. This is passion. This is not him yelling. So I just wanted to clarify that.
You gotta get Big T on the show if you want to see Mangone get fired up.
That is where AP has seen me yell in person, and it's more passion. Yeah, I was saying. And also my mic might be messed up. And I was told by Wiley I got equipment coming. We'll see if it's coming. I should touch on that because my mic, my Yeti mic broke and I have a bad one. So maybe it's the audio, but no, it's more passion.
I think it sounds fine. People always say I talk loud, so and I do. Like my whole family can hear me. So
you never know which Mangone you're going to get. I'll take the yelling, fired up Mangone over the disinterested, yawning, not listening to me Mangone. So I like this version that's on the show today.
That is
oh man. Yeah. So it just brings me. I'm really curious to see what Jokic sitting and it's is this situation going to take some ownership away from these earlier games? I think that's an interesting point because what you do get from the Lakers is a tighter rotation with Austin Reeves. Christian Wood's finally been. He's not playable. He's definitely not playable, but he's actually been a little better. of late. And then Max Christie is going to be the other guy to fill in there. I still can't play guys like Prince. So really it's D'Lo, D'Angelo Russell, LeBron James, AD, Reeves, and Christie are the guys that I would consider. Honestly, I'd like maybe 2 max is like one of the studs plus like a Reeves or Christie. I don't think you like jam a ton of pieces in.
Makes sense. Mangone, final thoughts on the Lakers situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not making huge adjustments, I think, for that. For me, I just think there's better spots already on this slate, so I'm not like adjusting everything a ton. I'll always say.
All right, let's get to plays of the day. We will start with you, AP. Back to Snyder's Soldiers. Who's your soldier for tonight, AP?
Well, I had a play in mind, but now it's like I can't say Duop Reith. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Stop crying and give us your play, AP. Come on.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I don't, I need time to think now because it wouldn't be appropriate because we have to see how the dust settles with the Nuggets. I'm going to go out and say Christian Braun. I think Christian Braun is the guy that really gets nice run here. He can create. The price tag's fair. He's already been really good this year. I feel like he's got to be one of the guys that can have an elevated role in this situation. The other reason I like him is his positional eligibility. You can play him at the shooting guard or small forward spot, so allows for a lot of flexibility there. Christian Braun, my play of the day.
I like it, and I think a chance maybe to be out there in blowout time too if he's playing well and the team is not. I think they do want to get him more minutes in general. Over to you, Mangone. What do you got for the play of the day?
Yeah, last time I gave out a big man, it was Daniel Tyson. He was okay. The last time before was Al Horford, so we're giving another big man out. This might be a big man off the bench too. It's Walker Kessler. This doesn't affect the news either or anything like that. It's not a news-related one. It's just I think without Lauri Markkanen, we saw a boost last time. I think you're going to see a nice boost here, and I think Jonas Valanciunas, the dude sucks. I'm not a big believer in him. I think he's an easy guy to take advantage of. You can get him into foul trouble too. So let's go with Walker Kessler. 5.5K is too cheap for him. He will be my play of the day.
All right, we'll head on over to DC land for Mom's Basement play of the day. I'll go back to Denver. I think it's got to be Reggie Jackson tonight that leads the way for the Denver Nuggets. 5,800 and, throw his numbers on the season out the window. With no Jokic out there, I do think he's going to have to lead the offense. And definitely a risky play, but I do think he's got a lot of upside for that $5,800 price tag on DraftKings. That'll do it for this show. That's all 5 games, breaking down all the news. Of course, we have Big T JSU bringing you up to lock for members. Starts in about 10 minutes. Still time to join if you want to. Giblets 44% off your first payment to RPS if you want to join the winner's circle over here at Run Pier Sports. Appreciate you watching. Hit the like button on the way out. If you haven't done so, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow and all week. For AP, for Mangone, I'm DC, and we'll check you next time.